Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we will be going over my Week 5 team builder for the 10th season of the UPA. For this week, we will be going up against Dork, coach of the San Diego Charizards. And yeah, Dork's a longtime UPA coach, so he's a veteran in this. He knows what he's doing. Dork is off to a similar start with us. He's actually at 2-2 right now. He probably should be 3-1, but he misclicked one of his games. But either way, besides that, Dork's become a pretty good pal of mine. Just throughout the just from being in the UPA server, even from last season in D League, and then on top of that, at this point we're basically racing for the same playoff spots, just because of the way our divisions panned out. Maybe not so much for Dork because his division leaders are only at 3-1. I have two division leaders at 4-0, so it's going to be a little bit tougher for me to catch up. So unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to have to compete with the same playoff spot as Dork. Oh, excuse me, which means that this game is pretty important. It's in the middle of the season. It's grind time. It's time to put your nose to the grind and just get going to race for playoffs. So, anyways, with that in mind, let's just take a look at Dork's team. So, Dork drafted Megapinsir, Garchomp, Tapu Fini, Rotom Wash, Reuniclus, Arcanine, Alolan Persian, Virizion, Dragalge, Rhyperior, and Kecleon, with his Z-move users being Garchomp and Alolan Persian. Now, he did make a transaction before my week. He ended up, he had Scizor on his team, but he ended up trading that to Bredibus in exchange for Rotom Wash because Dork felt more comfortable with Rotom Wash, which is perfectly fine. The problem is, Dork doesn't have the Steel type now, which means my fairies go ham. But past that point, biggest threat on Dork's side, 100% the Megapinsir. That thing just destroys lives. I don't have the best bird responses in the game. I'm sort of being creative, not really. I guess I have one pretty obvious switch and one that's it makes sense but is a little bit less obvious. Garchomp's a huge threat, mostly just because of the versatility. I'm not too sure whether Dork wants to be Life Orb, whether he wants to set rocks with it, whether he wants to be SD or Z, or Scarf even could be very viable against me. Garchomp's sheer viability or sheer versatility in the multiple things that it could do just make it a very unpredictable force. Against my team specifically, so I'm gonna have to watch out for that. But besides that, definitely the next biggest threat is probably the Reuniclus. My stall breakers don't have a particularly fantastic matchup against Reuniclus, as Crobat is weak to Psychic, and then the best way that Whimsicott ends up stall breaking is through Leech Seed damage. But because of Magic Guard, he doesn't take damage from Leech Seed, so Reuniclus is looking to be a slight pain to take on. Past that, I could realistically see any of his other things coming. I expect Megapinsir, Garchomp, and the Reuniclus. I kind of expect the Arcanine just because that's his only fairy resist on his roster, and I have two very potent fairies on my team. But beyond that, the other two slots could realistically be anything that Dork wants. Barring the Virizion, I'm not too sure if the Virizion comes. I don't think its matchup's fantastic, just because I have both Mega Scizor and Crobat on my roster. But yeah, enough of that. Let's go over the team that I decided to build for this game against Dork. So first off, we have Charty Rotom Heat, which is meant to be my answer to the Megapinsir. I know I have Mega Scizor on my roster, and if I make it max Fizz Death, then I can actually take returns pretty easily. But the problem is, Mega Scizor doesn't really do much to Megapinsir back, other than click Roost. And setup Scizor is not necessarily the greatest because Dork does have that Alolan Persian, which could have a foul play that is very fast, and with Fur Coat doesn't take too much from Bullet Punch. So Scizor didn't really have the best matchup. And as well, with Arcanine already being a likely bring, I wasn't really too sure on it. Plus, Bullet Punch, if you just look at his roster, doesn't really do a whole lot, because Garchomp doesn't get 2-hit KO'd, and he has, I guess Fini doesn't really matter because it doesn't really resist, but now Rotom Wash is a really good check to it. And even Dragalge doesn't take a ridiculous amount. So Mega Scizor's matchup wasn't really the greatest for that. So I ended up going with Rotom Heat as my Pinsir answer, as with the Charty Berry, we guarantee live either SD Stone Edge, or we live return into Stone Edge. So yeah, Charty Berry is definitely the way to go. As far as moves, Volt Switch Thunderbolt, pretty simple. I originally had Light Screen in the Thunderbolt slot, but then after consideration, I thought, what the hell was I thinking? I put Thunderbolt on there as my main way to hit Tapu Fini. We have Hidden Power Ice to hit the Garchomp, and then Overheat is our main damage output against the Mega Pinsir. A guarantee Oko's offensive Mega Pinsir, which I do expect, as I guess he technically wouldn't have to speed creep Mienshao, because it can realistically go for a quick attack and knock out Mienshao anyways. But even then, he would still have to speed creep Mew or Miltank. So, yeah. Overheat can still knock that out, no problem. Obviously, we're speed tying his Rotom Wash. But yeah, pretty straightforward Rotom set in my opinion. Next up, Azumarill Choice Banded once again, because like I said, his only fairy resist is Arcanine, and guess what that's weak to? It's weak to water. So yeah, Choice Banded Azumarill. I don't know why it took me so long to realize it, but like, I kind of started building on Monday and then had a really long break, and then I built quite a bit yesterday and today. And it took me until today to realize that Azumarill just kind of went nuts against Dork's team. Not only the fact of like the lack of the fairy resist, but also due to the fact that his he just has a massive speed gap. It goes from Tapu Fini at 85 all the way down to Dragalge. And then after the Dragalge, which is at 44, he has Rhyperior 40, Kecleon at 40, and Reuniclus at 40. I already expect the Reuniclus to show up. I think there's a pretty good chance that Rhyperior could show up. Dragalge he's shown to bring and use actually pretty well, so I wouldn't be surprised if he brings that. Kecleon I'm still on the fence about, but either way, he has a lot of slow threats that I could realistically see coming, which means trying to get momentum into Azumarill to basically launch off a Choice Banded attack is really good in this matchup. But yeah, as far as the moves go, Play Earth Liquidation, obvious because, like, again, only one Fairy Resist, Liquidation hits his Fairy Resist. Aqua Jet for priority because, like, I honestly couldn't think of another move. And honestly, because I couldn't think of another move, I just ended up putting Facade on. In case my Azumarill does get caught into a spot where it has to get burned by Will-O-Wisp from either the Rotom or the Arcanine, then at least I'm not totally useless and I can still launch off a bunch of damage. The speed is pretty arbitrary, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really have a specific reason I put 88 in. It was basically just to keep him guessing, but still invest quite a bit into bulk. But yeah, again, pretty straightforward set, but it just looks really good against Dork's team. Another thing that looks really good against Dork's team is Choice Scarf Kyurem, because his ice resists aren't exactly the most fantastic thing. Granted, like, I guess very clearly, his switch into this Kyurem should very well be the Tapu Fini, which is why we started with an electric type and then a choice banded mon. But yeah, if at any point the Tapu Fini goes down, then I'm pretty free to spam Draco Meteor, as I believe that's his only fairy type if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is. And yeah, so as long as he also isn't Scarf Garchomp, it's looking really good. It just looked like Scarf Kyurem on paper looked really good to potentially clean up the game, especially considering I did want another offensive check to the Mega Pinsir there, because obviously Rotom he can switch in on returns, but if it gets to the point where Rotom Heat is just too weakened, then I wanted something else that could still be faster than the Mega Pinsir and still launch a powerful attack. There's, as you can see on the screen, there's still another one to come. So that's fine. Like, I'm really happy with this. So at least in this way, if he does sniff out that I'm Scarf, then he can realistically only go for quick attack, which, if I'm not mistaken, does like a max of 34, maybe 35%. So it's not too big of a deal. But yeah, Ice Beam. His ice resists are like very minimal. Like I said, like the Tapu Fini is definitely his best response to this. Barring that, after that it's the Rotom Heat, and then after that it's the Arcanine once again. But I don't really think he'll be using the Arcanine to pivot into the Kyurem, because one, it's neutral to Draco Meteor and then gets stopped by Earth Power as well. But also it's going to be really pressured to switch into the Play Roughs and just all the fairy attacks that I'm going to be launching off, so I really don't expect him to pivot Arcanine into this too much. Earth Power is still here as like just kind of a good neutral ground play, mostly to hit the Arcanine. And then after that we have Shadow Ball, because since we are modest, we are able to oh my goodness, since we are modest, we are able to 2-hit KO a max HP Reuniclus with Shadow Ball, which is really good for us. So I felt it was important to have that more so reliability than having to go for Draco Meteor and get the drops, which would be kind of a bummer if I'm being completely honest. Oh yeah, the speed is here because we are creeping a modest Rotom Wash. That's what our speed is for. But yeah, again, pretty straightforward set. Not too much to say. I'm always a fan of Scarf Kyurem, so we're gonna try it out. It looks really good in this matchup. Next up, another I feel really bad for always bringing a very similar Crobat set this season, but like it's so warranted because Dork just has a distinct lack of reliable recovery. His recovery options are Recover on Reuniclus, Morning Sun on Arcanine, and I guess Synthesis on Virizion, but realistically that's it. And like I said, I don't really expect Virizion to show up, mostly because I have this, but also Mega Scizor kind of deters that, even though he could have Hidden Power Fire. But then he either has to be mixed with Hidden Power Fire and Stone Edge to hit this Crobat, or like Zen Headbutt. I suppose he could be extra sensory, but either way, it still gets extremely pressured out by Crobat since I naturally outspeed and threaten with a Brave Bird. So yeah, I just really don't expect Virizion to show up. But yeah. Anyways, Speed is here for his Alolan Persian, which is his fastest mon. And then the obvious stuff, Taunt, Super Fang, Roost, Brave Bird. It's kind of the staple for the stuff on my team so far, but I'm really upset that I keep bringing this similar set, but like it straight up has to come, because like I said again, I did want something else reliable to be able to naturally outspeed the Mega Pinsir to essentially force him in a spot where he can't spam return. At least in this way, he'll have to click quick attack against my Crobat, and then I'm able to threaten out with a very strong Brave Bird. It does, I believe, like 67 min to an offensive Mega Pinsir. But yeah, and then the rest are put into special defense, and we have Pyapa Berry to be able to get basically more than one attack off on the Reuniclus. So we'll be able to Super Fang. We'll be able to Super Fang on his on the first turn. We'll be able to tank with Pyapa Berry. Hopefully we'll get a Taunt off to stop him from recovering, and then we'll either click another Super Fang or click a Brave Bird, depending on the situation. But yeah, the Pyapa Berry mostly to live a hit from the Reuniclus, because other than that, like his most likely techs are probably Focus Blast, which I 4x resist, and then he probably has Shadow Ball for my Mew as well. And then like arbitrary last move, whether he wants to Recover, Calm Mind, whatever. But yeah, again, pretty straightforward with Crobat. I'm sorry that I have to keep bringing a similar set, but like just look at this set and look at Dork's team on paper. It just looks really good, and I could not pass up the opportunity to bring this. Next up, we kind of have a not similar role, but like another sort of soft check to Reuniclus. I'm pretty scared of Reuniclus, I'm not gonna lie. We also needed a rocket for the match, so I obviously needed to bring rocks. Knock off Earthquake, pretty obvious stuff, and then Rock Slide to be able to hit the Mega Pinsir. Speed is here for the Rotom Wash, and then Egg Guava Berry, basically to be able to, like, if it comes to a point and his Mega Pinsir is unboosted, then we we tank the close combat that he's more than likely going to launch off. We survive it, and it procs us into our Egg Guava Berry range, and then we're at a very healthy amount, and then our Rock Slide after the drop should be able to knock it out. But yeah, again, pretty straightforward. Intimidate's also going to be good in case he's like SD Garchomp or even SD Pinsir. Mostly, I expect SD Garchomp. But yeah, I'm really a fan of this. Again, this does get walled by Crocodile, but once again, this gets walled by Virizion, but again, I'm not really expecting it. And then yeah, it's just kind of general utility against the rest of his team. And then finally, something that I was kind of toying around with a bit, which is Z-Grass Whimsicott, which I guess I should probably explain the set. So obviously Speed's here for the Alolan Persian, that's pretty obvious. With this special attack investment, we are able to with Z Energy Ball guarantee Oko max HP top with Finny after rocks, which wasn't the original goal we set out to. It's just the way it ended up. The goal that we ended up hitting this to, I believe, it was knocking out funnily enough, it was knocking out it was 2-hit KOing offensive Virizion with Moonblast, because while Virizion's physical defense not very fantastic, its special defense is quite good, so I needed quite a bit of attack investment to hit that. Unfortunately, Arcanine kind of gives us a trouble, which is why we have U-turn. And then we also have Encore here, because if you look at this set, realistically, nothing is stopping Mega Pinsir from kind of switching in on this. And if I catch him on a turn where he SDs in my face, then I can potentially Encore him into that and lock him in. But it's not just for SD Pinsir. That was just kind of the first thing that popped into my head. Since, like I said, Mega Pinsir does get a relatively free switch into Whimsicott. It was just the most likely scenario to happen. But I could also lock in Garchomp to Rocks or potentially its own SD. Locking in Reuniclus to either Calm Mind or Recover would be nice. And then even like locking in Finny into locking in Finny into like Calm Mind itself, or if he ended up bringing up Haze, or like like mornings on an Arcanine. Like there's a lot of things. Like Encore U-turn is just a really good like momentum slash. I guess it's more so momentum kind of core package. That's the better word I'm looking for. It's really the good momentum package to be able to force switches and then U-turn on his decided switches. Because if I Encore him and even if he stays in getting quote-unquote aggressive, it's really easy for me to take advantage of it since I know exactly what he's going for. Yeah, and then Z Energy Ball, because like I said, Rotom Wash is kind of annoying for the Kyurem set, with me not trying to spam Ice Beam, but specifically the top of Finny as well, and with Z Energy Ball we are able to nuke those to be able to knock them out, to hopefully free up my Scarf Kyurem to click Ice Beam for the rest of the game. So yeah, that is the team we are bringing to go up against Dork. Let me know what you guys think of the team in the comment section down below. Tell me what you guys, tell me how you guys think we're going to do in this game. I'm really looking forward to this game. Dork's a good pal, and regardless, obviously I would love to win, but I'm sure regardless we're going to have a really good game, and I'm really looking forward to it. So keep your guys' eyes out on the channel tomorrow for when the battle versus Dork goes live. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.